So my name is Melissanthi Mahut, and as you heard, I'm here to talk to you about acting in the field of video games. So, to start at the very, very beginning, much like everybody else in this room and every single child, I loved to play pretend. I loved to play pretend being anything from, oh, I don't know, a princess, a mermaid, a dragon, a mythical creature, a cop, a detective, a thief. And eventually, you know, everybody kind of grows out of this phase gradually in life, but much to my parents' dismay, I didn't. So when I got to the age of 18, where I had to choose what I wanted to do with my life, unfortunately, if I didn't want to drive every single person around me completely insane, the only thing that I could do was acting. And I thought, wow, you know, man, this is amazing, this is great. I'm going to play pretend for a living. I mean, how awesome is this? Unfortunately, down the line, this thing called being an adult kicked in, so it became a bit less play and a bit more work, but still, I'm not complaining. My job is still very, very awesome. So a couple of years ago, I get a call from my agent. I'm very, very excited. I'm like, oh my God, she's gonna give me a job. I'm like, yes. And she says, hey, funny thing, would you be interested in auditioning for a lead character in a video game? And I thought, okay, this is something that I've never done before. This might be cool. This might be interesting. Yeah, sure, let's do it. So I did. And a lot of auditions later, I got offered the part of Kassandra in the new Assassin's Creed game called Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which takes place in ancient Greece. Maybe some of you have heard of it, hopefully. Yes? Oh, thank God. I'll tell you why. Funny things started happening over these past years that I've been working on this project. I'd be out, you know, on a Friday night or on a Saturday or on a weekday, and I'd meet somebody new. And obviously, because this is the 21st century, we never ask someone, hey, what's your name? You know, how are you? We just go straight to the chase. We're like, so what do you do? I was like, okay, I'm an actor. I act. And they would say, oh, you know, how glamorous, how amazing. Have you been in a film? Have you been in theater? Are you somewhere on stage? Where can we see your work? I was like, I have done some of that stuff, but now I'm actually in video games. And then 9 out of 10 times, this would happen. You kind of take a step back. They would kind of tilt their head and go like, oh, I'm sorry, you didn't make it. You changed profession. I was like, no, guys, I still act, but I act in video games. And this is the point of the conversation where I would usually lose them. They would say, like, what? I don't get it. There's acting in video games? So this got me thinking, and I was really perplexed for a while, and I had to start getting used to the fact that, yes, a lot of people know that video games exist. Yes, they have a family member that plays it. They have a son or a daughter whose PlayStation they would like to break. And they can name maybe 1 or 2 of the major ones out there, but people don't actually know what goes into creating a video game, let alone that there are hundreds and hundreds of actors now employed in order to bring these characters and these worlds to life. So I was like, okay, I'm curious to see how far back this goes. And when was the first time somebody actually recorded an actor's voice to use it in a game? So I did some really serious research. I went on Google. And Google said that the first time this happened was for the arcade game Atari in 1983. So I said, okay, that's been a while, but maybe not long enough for people who are not fanatic gamers or are interested in gaming or finding out more about it to actually know about the process. And the other interesting thing I discovered in the same article was that back then, all those years ago in 1983, it actually cost $1,000 to digitally compress a single word so you could use it in a game. So to make a sentence, let alone a dialogue, it was ridiculously expensive. And I just want to point out how advanced things are now and the giant leap that technology has made so that we go from a few bits of dialogue to pages and pages and pages and hours and hours and hours of dialogue, in a game. And to put that into perspective, an average film that you guys might watch on your couch or at the cinema or maybe illegally download off the internet would be about an hour and a half, 2 hours, and the script for that would be about 180 to 200 pages. Now, for video games, we got 250 pages of script per week. So that is a lot of text, and that happened for months and months and months and months. So again, nice big leap. So when people actually stick around to ask me what it's like to act in a video game, they say, okay, so you act in a video game. What is it actually like, though? I mean, is it like film? Is it like theater? Is it maybe a bit like a cartoon animation? I'm like, yes, yes, and yes. It's like all of these three things, so good that I'm good at talking, combined. And to be more precise, there are two main bits that you would get. The one bit is voiceover, but we'll call it VO for short. And the other bit is motion capture, and we call it Mocap for short. So the one bit is where you would lend your voice in order to breathe life into the character. And the other bit is where you would provide the physicality and the movement so that the character is more realistic and lifelike. Now, not everybody gets to do both, but if you're really, really lucky, you do, and it's really awesome. So, VO. Everybody in this room will have heard of one or another form of VO, even if you don't know that that's what it is that you're hearing. So VO is what gives you the commercials on your radio. It's what gives you dubbing in films. It gives you, if you're a geek like me, audiobooks. And it also gives you the characters' voices for the amazing cartoons that we get to see. VO takes place in a small studio in front of a mic with the text in hand, and that is pretty much it. And I find it absolutely fascinating how you have to make a character believable, likable, and somebody that the audience can later on empathize with using nothing else other than your voice. And believe me, after this experience, I have a huge amount of respect for voice actors out there, because after a while it is very hard, because imagine that you don't actually have anybody to act with, and half of the time you don't actually hear the bit of dialogue that you're talking to. So you'd be just talking on your own and trying to imagine the rest of the bit, what it sounds like. Are they yelling at me? Are they laughing at me? Are they being sarcastic with me? You have no idea. So that was an interesting lesson for me. And the second bit is motion capture. Now, safe to say that motion capture has eventually become my most favorite way of acting, because it includes everything. What happens is you walk into the room and you're wearing a really tight suit which is made out of Velcro, and I cannot stress this enough, it's made out of Velcro. And you have dots that are Velcroed onto your body, and you have other dots that are painted onto your face, and you have the head cam, which is a really, really heavy bit of helmet on your head that has cameras and blinding lights, much like this case. So what the camera does, what the head cam does, is that it records the movements that the dots are making every single time I make a facial expression. And that goes into one computer. And then if I were to step in a bigger space that we call the volume, that have cameras surrounding me, then the bigger cameras would record the movement that are made in the dots in my body, and then would transfer that onto another computer. Now, basically, every single movement that I do is transferred into zeros and one in computers across the room. And it gets a bit tricky. And if you're anything like the rookie that I was at the beginning of the process, two things will definitely happen to you. One is that you will be in the middle of a very, very emotional scene. You'll be holding a loved one that is dying in your arms, and they're giving you their final words, and there are tears running down your face. Something changed. Yes, there we go. There'll be tears running down your face, completely destroying all that facial makeup. And just about as you are to leave them on the ground and walk off like a hero into the sunset with violins reaching a dramatic crescendo, you realize you can't do any of that stuff because you have managed to Velcro yourself stuck to your partner. And the only way that you can leave is to just drag them off the scene with you. So that's one thing, true story, happened more than once. And the second thing that will definitely happen is that you will get so excited that you're doing a fight scene, so that when the director kind of yells, "Action!" you completely forget that you're wearing really expensive equipment on your head, and you will charge headfirst to your opponents and completely destroy all the equipment. I'm very sorry. But seriously, once you get past that, it's actually a lot of fun and really easy. And One of the reasons why I really like it is because I get to explore all mediums of acting within it. Because if you imagine that from the waist down, you have to act as if you're on stage. So if you're in a theater, an auditorium, like this case, so your movements need to be very big so the cameras can record the movement clearly. And as far as your face is concerned, that needs to do film acting because the cameras are so close and they pick up on the tiniest little detail. And your voice can be anywhere really in between. So it can be really grand and big if you're doing a theatrical piece or like a big fight scene. Or you can even go really close and really soft and delicate and talk to someone like this in the scene. And so I thought, wow, you know what, this is amazing. I get to play anything I want. And I get to use all the mediums that I have been trained to use as an actor. And the really incredible thing with that suit, wow, really flattering, is that I like to think of that as a superhero suit. Because when you're wearing this, this can literally make you become anything. This can give you wings, this can give you gills, this can give you blue skin. You can become, wearing this, if you bring the physicality and the movement, you can become a dwarf, a giant, a mythical creature, an alien from a galaxy far, far away with tentacles all over your face. There is no limit to what you can do within this suit. And last but not least, what I want to say is that as an actor, I find this medium incredible because for the first time, the line that actors get to hear so often, which is, "You do not look the part," is completely irrelevant here. Because if you bring the ideas and the physicality and the work and your imagination, then it seriously does not matter where you're from. If you're a man, if you're a woman, if you're tall, short, thin, fat, with warts on your face, none of this matters. And for the first time, you get to participate in an experience that includes everyone, and everyone's there to tell a story. And that's it. And I personally think that that's very, very cool. Thank you very much for your time.